So, all right, there we go. Open source to inspire. I think in a bank, and I was chatting to one of my old mates who's at FNB, and it seems that in FNB they're more liberated than we are. But in a bank, open source is like quite a hard topic to discuss, because if you can't sue somebody, why would you use their software? So, well, that's how banks work, eh? So anyway, so let's get going. Who am I? I've been at Vestec for a good number of years. I've sort of been the corporate animal. I've played at a variety of levels. I've been head of IT for private bank. For various reasons, I thought that was quite dumb. The reason why is because that's not where the real work happens. You know, I think that's where arms are waved and budgets are put together, and you know, you talk to auditors and that sort of guff. So just over a year ago, I went back into development. I think the nice thing about development is often if there's a crisis, you know, cometh the hour, cometh the opportunity. And so what I'm going to do is talk to you about this crisis we had. But before I get there, I'm just going to poke some fun at the Enterprise Linux guys. I attended a talk. I was actually one of the speakers, October last year. And somebody asked this question, which is, you know, how do we get Linux into the enterprise? Some of you say Linux. I'm sorry, I apologize. I call it Linux. Get used to it. And you're welcome to heckle me, eh? So don't worry about being polite. And I was quite shocked, eh? Because some oaks said through feature comparison. And it must be one of the most uninspiring things I've ever heard, because do you really want to take on Microsoft with paper clips and icons and checkboxes? You know, I really thought that the way to get into this is through value and demonstrating value. So I'll come back to that through this talk. I unfortunately prepared for an hour, so it's only half an hour, so I'm going to have to talk quite quickly. So that's my agenda. A problem we had, we took on a challenge. It was quite a big challenge, and it's how we did it, then how we scale it in an enterprise. Because I think in an enterprise, if you do something in isolation, you become an island, and you typically become ostracized, and after a while they kill you. So you need to find ways to integrate. So our problem, all right, we've got an app, online banking, internet banking site. We wrote it in '99, and it's actually quite cool, because some of the people who helped us write it are in this audience, so it might be a trip down memory lane. So we wrote it in '99 as a Java app. It was the first Java app, first Java banking app in South Africa, internet app, and it was cool. Eh? It won awards. One of our competitors believes they were the first bank to send out SMSs to clients. I can state they were not. We're quite miffed about that, but they got a bigger marketing budget. So anyway, so does that say 2012? Eh? No, that's wrong. So in 2002, we were struck with this like fear that we can't get people to look after our app. So we thought that clearly we can get folk from another country, and we outsourced the maintenance and development of the app to an Indian company. And for a while it worked quite well. However, after 7 years, it ended up, and we were in deep pain. You know, cost of change was very, very high. The insides of our app had become horribly mangled. And seriously, hey, we were in trouble. FNB was starting to do stuff in the market, and we were nowhere, and we couldn't respond to that. So we did what a good bank does. We decided to replace. And then, of course, if you're going to replace it, you have to run an RFP process. And we ran, I mean, Gartner thought it was an awesome process we ran. It was textbooky. We had vendors from all over the world. We ended up selecting I'm not going to name names, but we ended up selecting what Gartner said was one of the magic quadrant, top right, awesome, like lekker. And we started the process to replace. And however, after 2.5 years, our costs were nuts. I believe this is being taped. I'm not going to tell you how much money we lost in this, but I think Elon Musk would have been threatened with those numbers. But we cancelled the project, eh? And it was for us like quite a disaster, because after 2.5 years we had nothing to show, and we were still stuck with an app which was retarded in many respects. And again, our competitors were still doing stuff, and we needed to make a change. So so the challenge was, how do we take this app and refurbish it? The look and feel is arcane. How do we get that right? And also just put it on an iPad. Stephen, who's our head, I mean, I've been to breakfast with him, and he was punching his iPad in frustration. I mean, physically punching this thing. So like the oaks were stressed. Eh? So they said, look, can't you do something? Eh? So I said, no, cool. We'll make a plan. It says, good. You got 3 months. So I said, all right. When do we start? And he says, well, now. Off you go. And that was the challenge. And you know what, if you're ever in a situation like this where you have a crisis of this nature, one of the nice things is they give you lots of liberties, because no one wants to be around if it goes bad. All right, so everybody just bug it off. And the nice about them buggering off is we could get on and do our own things. So the governance was light. If you're in crisis, you can do things. So this is just our environment, just to orientate. We had some local developers. We had our offshore developers. We checked stuff into version control, which is Subversion. We used Apache Maven to do our builds for us. But unfortunately, we got a really powerful IT ops community, and once we'd got our build, they would then have to deploy it into all our environments. This process for non-production could take 1.5 to 2 days, because as it was set up, the deployment would get configured out of India. All right. So and then on the right-hand side, you can see the tech we've got: Oracle, SUSE, Apache, JBoss, and all runs on Java. So it's quite nice. But anyway, so that's the environment that we had. Like, who's heard of this oak before? Al, shame on you, eh? More of you should go and listen to this guy, eh? Daniel Pink. So he's quite interested in what motivates people, all right? And also, if I go back to a corporate, a lot of the incentives are typically cash or incentives, right? Now what he's done a lot of research on is what are the things that really incentivize people, like really. And he's come up with 3 things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And so some of us were plugged into his thinking and read his books, and I'm fortunate enough to have met him. And we said, cool, let's go and set up a team. All right, and let's take these things and let's try and use them. All right, we've got the autonomy because no one wants to come near us in case this thing fails, because oaks are just going to get fired left, right, and center. So that's great. So they gave us lots of space. So we had the autonomy. The mastery we needed to work on because it was a new team that we had assembled. All right, and then the purpose. We had a deep sense of purpose. We were in crisis. As that old saying, if a ship is sinking, everybody wants to help, especially if you're on the ship, and no one's going to say, well, I don't do that. So the team, it was quite easy to give them a deep sense of purpose. So as I talk through, just think of those 3 things. All right. So the first problem we had. So what I'm going to do now is just talk you through actually what we did from a practice point of view, one by one, and hopefully some of this might resonate with you. And if you find it valuable, great, use it. So one of the issues we had is guys would check in when some code was finished, all right, like every 2 or 3 days, and then when they check it in, then everything would break, all right. So we told the guys, no, you got to check in, 4 or 5 times a day. You have to do that. So I guess we didn't give them too much autonomy on that. So and then once we got that right, we then got a build server in place. And we went and used Jenkins. All right, why? Because it costs nothing. All right. How long did it take to implement? It took us about 2 hours. All right. Just like just download it, drop it in, We didn't install a database. We just ran with its plugin database. We ran on flat files. So we got it working in an afternoon. From every check-in, 5 minutes later, we know whether or not that particular check-in broke the build or not. So we started getting feedback very, very quickly. Part of Dan's pink stuff is if, the only way people learn is through feedback. And the way to accelerate learning is to give people feedback often. All right, and so as soon as we started doing this, our build started going through. We peaked at 60 a day, which I think was quite good. It was quite cool. But it was still only sending emails to people. So like, you don't want to name and shame, but you do want to create pressure. So we got those lava lamps, and those are actually the lava lamps that we got. And the lava lamps would glow green or blue, and then when the build fails, it glows red. And then you got all the project teams around us would go, hey, your lamp's red, what are you doing about it? And then we had some practices like, if the lamp's red, you may not check anything in unless you're fixing it. And if the lamp's red, it's like the andon cord, all right? The whole production line stops. Everybody stops doing whatever they're doing, and they go and try and help to get the lamp green again. So in that way, we were able to focus the guys to ensure that we always had a healthy build. And then sort of the pressure on the other teams, it was nice, actually. It created a nice community. What I can tell you is when the lamp goes red and it's your fault, you sweat. I promise you, I would have sweat running down my back. And one chap, he checked in and went home, and he broke the build. All right, and he got punished the next day. All right, because you just don't do that. So it was really useful, great practice. But that's just how that's what Jenkins looks like. It's like really hard to try and point on the screen for you. But I think the thing to note is look at the top tabs. All right, OLB's online banking. That's what we started with. This has become like cocaine in the organization. All the other tabs, you see are other projects that have picked up this practice as well. So it's become quite common in Investec now for our Java apps to all be plugged into Jenkins. So we don't have hundreds of lava lamps anymore. Our lava lamp burnt out. But it's a standard practice now, and there's no dramas around it. So that was quite cool. All right, but okay, getting code into a build is one thing. Is the code any good? All right. So we wanted to start giving feedback to the guys on code quality. Now, yes, you can do code reviews, absolutely, and yes, you could do functional tests and that sort of stuff. But exactly how do we get feedback quickly? Because all of that takes time. So we implemented something called Sonar. All right. Oddly enough, it also costs nothing. This probably took us another 20 minutes to install. It's bundled with Jenkins. You just had to turn it on. And then we had the big debate, because it comes with a whole set of rules, right? And now you've got to choose which rules do you turn on, which rules do you turn off. And so we said, well, bugger that, let's turn on all the rules, all right? Because what matters is not, it's not the number that matters, it's the trend that matters, all right? And so each morning, so we run this overnight. It takes about 25 minutes to run, or half an hour, whatever it is. But each morning you come in and you can look at the stats from the previous day, and if I show you that's typically what it looked like for the next day. You'll see on the right-hand column, top right, you've got issues. You've got a little green -3 there. That means our total number of issues has gone down by 3 since the previous day. Little added 1. So typically the devs will climb into that and see what it was, and we'll go and clean that specific issue. All right. And I don't look at our coverage on units tests. We've got work to do there. But then this is typically the monthly report, right? So you'll see there lines of code is going down, statements is going down, files are going up, all right, and classes are going up. So that's healthy, all right, because it means that we're creating more classes than we had previously, but we're reducing our line count. So we're getting rid of a lot of the rubbish, and we're getting better abstractions in place. We're killing all our comments. When I started coding, comments was considered good. Now it's considered an anti-pattern. So we're stripping out our comments. On the top right, you've got they grade the different kinds of issues, and you'll see how trends are all going down. And that's really what we care about. So now we had, using something like Sonar, which was like really free, and now we got a way of creating awareness around the internal code quality. And some of the guys will tell you that they actually learned quite a bit about some of their coding practices by just using this tool. And again, it's free. Eh? So the next problem we needed to solve was deployments. It was like a day and a half, 2 days is like a problem. Eh? So this was quite a simple thing to fix. We created this idea of you got to press one button to deploy. No more than that. But we press more than one button, it's too many. So we just knocked together some Ant scripts, so some Ant processors. We took Bash, we scripted all that. Our Unix oak is sitting over there, so if I'm lying, he will tell me. I know. And so now what happens is when that was all done, anybody can go into the deployment tab on Jenkins, and you can pick an environment. So our dev environment, you just whack a button. It'll check everything out of version control. It'll do the build. It'll shut down Apache or our static content sits. It'll shut down JBoss. It'll deploy the whole lot onto those containers. It'll bring everything up, and that takes under 10 minutes. All right. So from a day and a half to 10 minutes, that took out a lot of waste from the system, a lot of frustration. And people started working differently because of this. Because now it's not an issue to deploy. You'll try something quickly and say to one, says, look, I'm just going to deploy this. Let's have a look at it. And you do it, deploy it, boom, integrate environment, sorted. So the way it works now is devs and ops people don't do the deployments. All right, the testers do the deployment. So my tester sits opposite me, and we'll chat. She says, how's this defect? So it's done, it's in the build. And she'll go, cool. And then she'll just deploy it. It's like, just deploy it if you want it. All right. So think about autonomy again. All right. So these testers could manage their time and their day a hell of a lot better. And we could get stuff out very, very quickly. So that was cool. But the problem with what we've just done is our database got behind. All right. So at Investec, our database crew are a little bit like more tougher than our Unix crew. So it was hard. So what we did here, because we wanted to tie the database deployments with the Java deployments. So we used a product called Liquibase, free. Liquibase, if any of you if you don't know Liquibase, if you know Ruby on Rails, and they use something called Rake to do this sort of stuff. So you will write your script, you'll write your rollback script. If it's to add a column or add a table or index, whatever it is, you just write the roll forward, rollback script, check it into version control, and when you do your deploy, it will run that in with the deployment. So then you find that your database and your application are completely in sync. So that just killed all that governance. Again, saved absolutely gobs of time. We haven't yet got the guys to allow us to do this in production yet. Not in this app. In our other business, Mauritius, they picked up all these techniques, and it's much smaller business. And they've got one touch with scripting all the way into production. So we'll get there, but we need to earn their trust a bit more. So I guess mentally, if you can think about it, we've now ticked off a whole lot of waste in our system, got rid of it. But we had hassles where our developers, I don't know whether you in development you get this phrase, but it works on my machine. All right. So it's like when I hear that, I want to kick the person out the building. All right. It's like it irritates the hell out of me, because they're throwing their hands up and saying it's not my problem. All right. And I'm saying it is your problem. Find out why. Okay. But it's like as if I don't know, but it irritates me. So we had to solve this problem. So what we did is we used something called Vagrant, all right, and Chef. So what happens now is our developer workstation is checked into version control, all right? And you check the stuff out, and you run Vagrant, which is free. And Vagrant runs a chef script, which is also free. There's a pattern here. I didn't put the free thing there because VirtualBox is from Oracle, and I feel that to be dishonest because I'm sure that somewhere you got to license it. If so, I don't know.
Oracle is dishonest or saying that it's dishonest?
No, I think I'd be lying if I said it's completely free, because you might find if more than 5 people use it simultaneously, you got to pay lots of money. Yeah. So I didn't want to support license. Okay, cool. Smashing. So then we can put that icon back. Awesome. So what is cool about that is you go Vagrant up, right? So it spins off these VMs for you on your desktop. So it spins off a VM for our Apache node, drops Apache on it. It's at the right patch level. It throws a static content on there. It spins off a second VM. It throws Java and JBoss on there. It puts our container on there. Spins off another VM, puts Oracle on there. It seeds the database with our schema, and all of this takes about 15, 20 minutes. All right, and then so from that point forward, that dev has got the same versions that we're running on in production. So the it works on my machine excuse disappeared overnight. All right, which was delightful. So we were about halfway through this project, and it's roughly about that time, the risk guys get involved because they go, you're making progress. How can this be? And because you're not supposed to be making progress at this speed, so clearly you're doing something we don't approve of. So I got hauled in, and I had conversations with them, and I presented these principles, and it caused hassles. So the first one, if it isn't free, we don't want it. All right, and we this team that we have is very, very, very specific around this, because in an enterprise, typically when you want something, you're going to go and buy it. And if you buy it, you're going to have to run some sort of selection process. And then you've got to get our legal oaks involved. And then we're going to get our procurement oaks involved, because we're going to drive that price down. And then we're going to look at the maintenance cost in it. So there's a huge investment up front to select a product. All right? But in actual fact, all you know about the product is what marketing people have told you. So basically, you know nothing about the product, okay? And you got to kick the tires, and they will give you their highest paid consultant to come and sit next to you, all right? Knowing that when you actually spend the money, this oak buggers off, and you get some guy who's just out of varsity and has got 2 weeks training. And generally, when you've actually paid for it and you start using it, it's not the right tool, all right? And then what do? Okay. Well, at an enterprise, you make it work. You don't have a choice. So what we didn't want was for developers and this project to get into a place where they can't do stuff because they're having to go through this procurement process. And then when they do get it, it doesn't work properly. So we just said, forget all that. There are lots of clever people on the internet. If it's not free, we're not even going to entertain using it. We use whatever works. All right. So all the religious wars, we just ignore. If it's working, we use it. If it doesn't, throw it out. Developers choose their developer stations. So we're a Microsoft shop. So and I mean, I'm a little bit facetious there, but we have to lock down our workstations. We've got client data. We've got financial data. We have to be very careful how we manage that. So we had to get around that by making sure that developer stations can't have that stuff. All right, so I use a Mac, which took us in total about 2 years to get right, going through our internal governance and making sure that everyone is comfortable that we're not going to bring the bank down. But so this is a great one, because you can imagine you're going to recruit someone, right? And he arrives here and he's used Mac for 5 years, or he uses Ubuntu, and we say, like, you're the top of your game, but you got to use Windows. It's like, it doesn't make sense because that's not his tool, all right? He uses something else. So we found it quite silly that you employ bright people who know their tools and then tell them to make them use something else. That's just pointless. So the IDEs as well, we're not religious at all. Use whatever you want. The moment of truth is when you check it into version control, and we run our build process, we run our unit tests, And Sonar then has a look at your code. That's the moment of truth, not the fact that you used something godforsaken like VI, you know. And well, the heckling didn't start, so I thought I'd go first. And then whatever we do must make us a lot more productive, because fashions come and go, and I think a lot of folk will find something and say, this is cool, we've got to use it. And then it's like, why should we use it? No, but it makes us better. But it makes us a lot better or just a little better. If it's a little better, don't waste, it's a waste of time. All right? It's got to make us a lot better. And we've been quite true to this. So it makes us quite aggressive around our tooling and changing our tooling. And think about autonomy again, think about mastery. We incentivize the guys to construct the workspace that they want that will make them most productive, and that's theirs to own. So go forth and find the stuff. So that's worked very well for us. So then this is just an update of our environment. Got all the toys in. No, there's nothing there I haven't spoken about. So what are the results? All right, proof of the pudding. So first of all, 3 months we didn't need it. 2.5 months was quite all right. Okay. If you chat to our business, they'll say we took 3 months, and maybe they're right. We took 2 weeks to assemble the team. Okay. So no one got fired, which I'm very pleased with. Given all these improvements, our rate of delivery has gone up enormously, just by eliminating waste out of our system, out of our processes. And that's not an exaggeration. 6 months, we're now doing 3 weeks. And more importantly, we did it at a quarter of the cost. Okay? Everything we used was free, all right? And when I say we spent no money, that's true. We didn't spend money on software, but we also didn't violate any licenses. It's not that we used stuff which we were supposed to pay for. Our auditors and our guys are quite tense around that, and rightly so. We are a bank. We've got to respect that. So I think that was quite a good outcome. So I think it's a compelling outcome. But there's still more to do. It's not the end of the road. Chef is only onto our dev stations. We're trying really hard now to get Chef to deploy into our integrated environments. We've been trying for some time, probably the better part of 6 months. It's proving to be hard, but it's something we'll persevere on. The other thing that would be really meaningful for us is hot deployments. So for us, we don't have a branch network. So it's not like if online banking's down, our clients can go into a branch somewhere. If the online banking is down, they can't transact. So it's critical for online banking to be up. And over 3 or 4 days, any 3 or 4 days of any time of the year, we will typically be hit from about 130 countries. So our client base are typically all over the world. So hot deployments is really meaningful. Currently, if we do go lives, we do it in the middle of the night. So which means that our ops oaks need to be awake. We need to have our dev teams in the building. What we really want to get to is we just press a button any time of the day, shuts half the cluster down, upgrades it, brings it up, tests it, and rolls the change into the second half of the cluster. So I think that will profoundly change how we work, and I think it will increase our throughput noticeably. So that's what's next. I think just scaling into the organization. So we have what we call brown bag sessions. So brown bag session is it's over lunchtime, which means by law we're all allowed to take lunch, which really means the organization can't tamper with that. So you bring your brown bag with your lunch in, and somebody has selected a video, and we just sit together in a meeting room and watch a video together. Being devs, when the video finishes, we all get up and walk out. It's been quite hard to get Oaks to stay behind and actually chat about what they've seen. So they bring their own lunch. And so we do this, we started doing this twice a week. It's now become quite successful, and we're now having 5 brown bags a week. So every day of the week, whether it's the developer community or our agile community or our BA community, guys are really getting into this. So that, that comes around mastery and that sort of stuff. Trying to expose people to what else is out there, not being stuck in the way that they work. We attend meetups. We encourage our guys to go to meetups, and we've even changed our conditions of employment in terms of open source. So if someone contributes to, traditionally when you arrive at Investec, condition of employment says whatever code you write belongs to Investec, finished. All right. That's now different. When you arrive at Investec code belongs to Investec. If it's part of an open source project, provided somebody else knows about it, you can happily check that code in accordance with those license agreements. So we've become very friendly towards that. I think this book helped us a lot. It's the Jez Humble book on continuous delivery. So what I've really been speaking about, for those of you who are aware of this, is really continuous delivery. That's all it is. We took a whole wodge of his disciplines, all right, and that's along the bottom, and we ranked ourselves. What we're now doing is, this is being done in all the teams, all our teams. We meet once a week, and 2 of our teams will just talk about how they are improving the practice in their team. And been running this for about 6 months now, 6-7 months, and it's been surprisingly successful. I don't like maturity matrices. It smells of consulting, but just getting them to talk about it, become aware of the achievements of other groups and other teams, and also being aware of the quality of life that these guys have enjoyed as a result of these practice improvements is enough to get people to participate. So it's a great practice, it works well. So closing thoughts. I guess the first point is quite important. We never asked permission to do this. We just went and did it. And yes, maybe we are in special circumstances, you're in crisis, no one wants to go and, as I say, no one wants to touch what you're working on. So we had lots of liberty. But I still think it's true. We're still doing stuff, and we just do it because it's the right thing to do. It sounds cliched, but in the corporate you can get stuck into, you've got to be authorized to do it. We just feel you're paid as a developer, you're already authorized, go and do it now. You've got to change the thinking, or you've got to change the people. If you're lucky, you only have to change the thinking. But if you think you're going to get it right with the same people with the existing mindset, what we found, can't do it. And then going back to those 3 Dan Pink points, if we sort of hold this as almost like a mantra to ourselves, as long as we're working towards giving people a sense of purpose, improving their autonomy, and creating space for them to become masters in whatever they choose to do, you don't need to do much more to motivate them. That's my story. Thank you.